Hi everyone, welcome to this video where I'm going to swatch my entire Caran Luminance coloured pencil collection. Now those of you who know me will know that the Luminance pencils are among my favourite pencils to work with, so over the years I've managed to collect quite a few of them, and I have 68 different colours here today to share with you. So I'm going to be swatching them in this book. Now this is actually a bonus video for the month. I wasn't going to film this month, and I realised that I have been putting off doing these coloured pencil videos for so long. I keep thinking of other video ideas and going with those instead. And I had promised quite a few of you that I would be swatching my coloured pencil collection. So I thought what I'm going to do while I'm in the mood to do it is sit here today. I'm going to start with the Luminance. So I'm going to do them by brand. I have several different brands. We'll start with Luminance. And then I think on my Patreon, what I'm going to do is do a series of favourite coloured pencils. So maybe do them by different colour groups, or I don't know, I might do them by brands, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to be swatching all of them on my YouTube channel and doing extra videos for Patreon where I share my favourites and my favourite colour combinations and things like that. So I bought this book, I don't know whether it was last year or the year before. I have a feeling I've probably had it for 2 years, and it came from Choosing Keeping. It's really, really beautiful. It has marbled edges on the paper and it has cloth binding. It's just such a beautiful book. And I actually thought that I would use it as like a reference book for all of my art supplies. So I'd swatch all of them in here, and then I can just keep it in the studio and I can refer to it, and it's going to be a really useful book for me to have. And it's just so beautiful. I haven't been able to bring myself to use it, and I know that's really silly, but you know what it's like when you get something really lovely and you get scared to use it. That's how I've been with this book. So today I'm going to start it. I'm just going to sit here with you. I'm going to swatch all the pencils, and at the end I will hold up the book to the camera with all of the pencils labelled, and you can use it as reference for yourself. I thought it would be really useful to have a series of these on YouTube for people who are interested in adding to their own coloured pencil collection, or maybe you're getting into coloured pencils and you're not really sure where to start. Anyway, I hope that these will be useful. Obviously, I love all of the colours I'm about to show you, or I wouldn't have bought them, so you know that they already come recommended. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we're off to a good start. It's a good thing I checked when I did, because I'd done the first 4 colours. The first one is white, by the way, which is probably why you can't see it. And I realised that I hadn't pressed record, so I'll go through these again. So we have white. The next one was buff titanium. So this is a really nice neutral, pale neutral colour. I love buff titanium paint, so I love to have it in pencil form as well. The next one is raw umber 10%, so that's that one. And then we had raw umber 50%. And I was saying that one of the things I like about the Luminance pencils is that you can get different percentages of the same colour. So you have the next one we're going to swatch. Let's just do this one because it's raw umber. And so obviously that's the darker one of the 3 of the raw umber trio. And it's nice to have the other ones. So if you want to work in the same colour but different tones of the same colour, Luminance has some of these in their range, and I really like that. I'll show you some more of them later on as well. I'm going to label these all in a bit, but we're going to just swatch them first, then I'll label them, and then I'll hold them up closely to the camera for you. The next one we're going to swatch is the French Grey 10%. So French Grey is a colour I really love. So I have the different French Greys as well, and they're really useful to have. So I'm going to try and keep these in order while I go along. This one is French grey 30%. So they'll vary in their percentages. Like with the raw umber, we had 10% and 50%, and then the raw umber. French grey is 10%, 30%, and then the French grey. I don't know fully why they do that, but yeah, as I say, it's really nice to have different tones of the same colour. So this one is the French grey. These are lovely warm greys. If you're a fan of warm greys, the French greys are really nice ones to have. So we'll finish this row with dark flesh at 40%. I don't know whether they've renamed this one. I have a feeling they might have done, but don't quote me on that. Either way, it's a very nice colour. Luminance do some really nice muted and neutral colours, which is one of the reasons I love them so much. So the next one is burnt ochre, 10%. Let's leave space to write, so we'll do it down here. So I know these swatches aren't huge, because I'm having to try to fit quite a lot in this book. So I'm keeping things fairly small, but it'll be so good to have like a reference library, if you will, of my art supplies, because I do get a bit overwhelmed sometimes having so many pencils and not necessarily knowing what some of them look like off the top of my head. There are some colours that I know immediately how they look because I use them all the time, but there are others where I don't tend to use them as much, and I sometimes feel like they just get left sometimes because I'm not 100% sure of how they look. So having everything kind of in order in a book is going to be so useful to me, because I can just flick through. I can pick out colours for different projects. I like to make colour palettes for certain projects, so you know, I'll be able to just go through and I'll be able to pick out the pencils and I'll know exactly how they look, which is so useful. Right, so this one is Warm Earth 5%. These are gorgeous earthy colours, these ones. I also really like the texture of Luminance pencils. Now, Luminance are one of the most expensive pencils I think that you can buy. They may be more expensive, but they're certainly up there. And I can understand why. If you're a beginner, you might think that you don't want to be spending so much money on a pencil. I know that they've gone up recently at Jackson's, but these are so beautiful to work with. If you're not normally a fan of coloured pencils and you just want to try maybe 3 different colours, I'd recommend you get some Luminance and just give them a go, because I do think that you will love them. Well, I certainly do anyway. Right, we'll do Sepia 10% next. So this is a gorgeous colour because it's kind of, to me, it looks slightly like a soft violet. It's really lovely, like a violet grey. There's one coming up that's called Violet Grey, and it's actually one of my favourite colours. And this one is kind of similar. I'm trying to keep these in order every time I'm doing them because I need to write the names on them. Okay, this one is Sepia 50%. So you see we're getting darker here. Is there anything lovelier than the sound of a pencil on paper? And this one is Sepia, so you've got a lovely, very rich dark brown here. I'm trying to keep these all roughly the same size and shape, but they will vary a little bit. And let's just do the other 3 for this row. So we will do Castle Earth, another lovely dark brown. And this one has a slightly more gritty texture. You can see, look at all the little bits. See all the little bits flying off there. It actually does feel less creamy. I guess that's the nature of the pigment. And then we're going to do black. I don't use the black pencils very often, to be honest. I tend to use a Payne's Grey or a dark indigo in place of black, but I like to have a black. It's useful to have, isn't it? Even if you don't use it that often. I kind of feel like maybe we'll stop that row there because the next row is going to be the Payne's Greys and a sort of blue grey. We'll leave that there. I'm going to write the names in as we go along. Okay, so let's go on to some of my favourite types of colours, which are the gorgeous grey blues, blue greys. Then we'll go on to the blues as well. So we're going to start with this really pale one called Silver Grey. But it is such a lovely colour. It's kind of like, if you're familiar with the Holbein watercolour Grey of Grey, it's like that, and like the Holbein Misty Blue acrylic gouache, it kind of reminds me of that as well. So yeah, this is kind of a must-have colour for me. I love this for soft skies and so on. It's just the perfect colour. And then we will move on to the Payne's Greys. So this is Payne's Grey 30%. Another lovely, cool blue grey. Really muted, really subtle, lovely colour. Should I make that one a bit bigger? Just a little bit. It's quite hard to be really consistent, but I'm trying because I want this book to also not only be functional, but to look nice too, if I can. Okay, so then Payne's Grey 60% is the next one. Now this is one of my favourites because it's just such a useful colour. I kind of feel like it's dark and it's quite a dark, moody colour, but without being too dark and heavy. I kind of feel like all of these are essential colours for me, really, these blue greys. And then we have the classic Payne's Grey, which is just so nice to use. It's such a dark, rich colour. Feels really nice to work with in the luminance. I have Payne's Grey pencils from other brands, but I really love this luminance one. And then something that's kind of a little bit similar to the Payne's Grey is Slate Grey. As you'll see, it isn't quite as dark. Actually quite similar to the Payne's Grey 60% really, isn't it? But if you look at them in person, you'll see that this one looks a little less blue. And then we go on to Steel Grey. I think this might have been one of my first luminance pencils among some of the first I bought. I've added to them a lot over the years. But I'm really excited to finally share all of my coloured pencil collection with you and to actually just get this book filled in, because I've waited so long. The other week, well actually other week, it's probably the other month now, I posted on my Instagram that I was sorting out all of my coloured pencil collection in order to make a series of videos. And I did it, and I catalogued them all in a notebook. So I knew which order I wanted to swatch them in, and I knew, you know, how many I had of each brand and so on. And then I never got around to filming the actual video. And I don't want to keep doing that. I feel like so often I kind of do this where I say that I'm going to be filming something and then it's absolutely ages before I film it. You all must be wondering, like, what's happened to my my videos that I promised. So I do want to start following through on some of the ones that I've said that I really want to do, and this is one of them. So this one is light cobalt blue, and it's a really pretty colour. It's like a soft light blue, but without being too bright. I like it because it still feels like it's fairly muted. So the next one is the genuine cobalt blue. So that's quite a bit brighter, but still just such a pretty colour. I kind of feel like I should use this one more. It's not a colour I would usually use that much in my work. Like if I was using blues, I tend to be a little bit darker or a little bit more muted, but I feel like this one should be used. It's so pretty. I'm really hoping that by setting them all out in this book, I'm going to end up using them more. As I say, I'll really be able to see what I've got. Okay, so the last one for this row is called Grey Blue. Let me know actually in the comment section below, which is your favourite Luminance? If you use Luminance pencils, tell me which one is your favourite, or which ones are your favourite, because there are some I haven't tried, and if there are any that I haven't got and you think that I would like them, let me know, or let me know your favourites. So we'll be getting on to some slightly brighter colours here, as you can see. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to refocus that. Then I'm going to pull out here some of the other blues that I want to share with you, because I think you will like these lovely blues. I did actually make a video a while ago on my favourite blue and blue-grey coloured pencils across all brands. So you might want to go and watch that one. I'll try to link it, if I remember, at the end of this video, so you can go and have a little watch of that one as well. Okay, so this row we're going to start with Ice Blue. Now this is a brighter one. Let me leave enough space there so we can write in there. This is like a lovely, I don't know, slightly teal kind of blue. I don't think I'd call it turquoise. Really nice. I don't use it that often. Again, it's another one that I don't use that often, but I think is so pretty. And then we have Ultramarine. Now this is a fairly recent one, and I don't know why I thought I need an ultramarine, because it's not a colour I would tend to, like with paint, for example, I wouldn't tend to use ultramarine on its own. I always have it and I mix it with other colours. But I don't know, I just kind of thought it could be useful. So I've got it just in case I need it. Gosh, that one's really, so many little dusty bits coming off that one. Then we have Prussian Blue, which is a lovely warm dark blue. I do love my blues. This one's excellent for night landscapes. Such a nice colour. Yeah, really warm blue. What's the next one? This is in Damp Throne Blue. So another dark night blue. Gorgeous inky blue colour. And the next one is Bleu Denim, so that's denim blue. And this has a slightly, it's kind of leaning towards being slightly purple, which I don't tend to use a lot of purple in my work, but I can see that this one would be interesting to use in certain situations. I keep thinking about doing like some foresty, wooded, tree-based artworks in pencil. I'm wondering whether that one might be quite nice. I know it doesn't seem like the obvious choice, but if you were in my head, you'd understand my way of thinking with this. I guess the thing is to just do the artwork and then maybe show you. Right, and then finally, I think this is the last one we're going to do on this row, because then I think we're going to move on to some plummy, aubergine kind of colours. Or can we? Shall we continue on? Maybe we will. Anyway, this one is dark indigo. This is one of my favourites because it's almost black. So it's a good alternative to black if you don't want to use black and you want something that is very dark and intense but without being black. So if you apply it really heavily, it looks pretty much black. But if you use it to go over another colour, which I won't do now because I'm just swatching quite neatly here, but it shows, like the blue shows through more, so it's quite an interesting colour. It can sometimes look a little bit electric blue. I sometimes combine it with the pink white pencil, which we haven't swatched yet, and that seems to, when you layer them, it brings out the blue in this dark indigo. I've liked this one since very, very early on. I think they brought it out a couple of years or so ago, and I got one shortly after it came out and really loved it from the beginning. Okay, let's put them on this row here because I have 3 of these and they're all sort of in the same colour family, I guess you could say. They are slightly towards purple, but they're not really purple. So this one is light aubergine. And as you can see, it's like a more muted purple. I don't really like bright purples, like a classic purple. So that's nice if you want like a muted purple alternative. And then we have crimson aubergine. So we're going slightly more like a wine kind of colour here now. It sort of reminds me of like a Peroline violet or something like that. And then we have Carmine Lake to finish this row. So it's just kind of like a rich plummy brown, really, I guess is the best way to describe this. I'm going to write down the names again and then I'll hold it up so you can have a close look and we'll move on to the next ones. So now we're going to go on to some gorgeous earthy colours. We're going to start with Burnt Sienna. which is always a favourite of mine. I tend to have this in pretty much all of the different art supplies I use, all of the different materials. This is a really nice one. Very pretty red brown. And then we will go on to Natural Russet, which I think is gorgeous. It's just such a rich autumnal colour. I really love this one. I love browns and blues together as well. I think they look so nice together. I often use that combination in my work. And then we'll go on to russet. So there's a natural russet and there's a russet. And the russet is much more orange, so it's like a brighter version. These are also lovely. Gosh, it makes me want to do like an autumnal, like autumn in the woods kind of painting, or drawing rather. This one is terracotta. So slightly more subtle, muted, earthy colour. Then we have apricot. So again, a bit of a brighter one. And this one is Herculaneum red, which isn't really red at all. It looks very, sort of like an earthy pink, really. It's very pretty. I feel like I'm doing this row a bit smaller, aren't they, than the other row? I don't know why that is. But yes, it's a really pretty colour, this one. Probably say this for a lot of the more earthy colours. And then we have cornelian, which is, oh, that's got a little bit of, can we get rid of that, I wonder? Get my tiny eraser in here. It's got like a bit of green or something on it. Let's just see if I can get rid of that a bit. There we go. By the way, this is the Tombow Mono Zero eraser, and it's so tiny and so good if you want to erase just like a teeny tiny little section. I got it a while back and I wouldn't be without it now. Yeah, cornelian is a lovely natural orange. So if you want something that's not too bright, some oranges can just be a bit too, I don't know, a bit too much, can't they? And this is a particularly nice one. And then we have a brighter orange. This is dark cadmium orange. So I had this one before I got the cornelian, and this one is just a bit brighter. It's kind of, it's less of a Natasha orange. I think that one's more of a Natasha orange, but I do think it's a nice colour. And it's great if you just want to add a little pop of brighter colour. It is a nice one. And finally on this row we have permanent red. Now I don't tend to have red in very many of my art supplies, or if I have it, it's a colour that I don't tend to use very much. I just kind of felt like it would be useful, and I did have an idea of how I wanted to use it when I got it. And then I didn't really go ahead with that idea. So it's just kind of been sitting there, but it is a nice red. It's good. It's bold without being a bit too much. It's just a really good one. Right, we're going to do a few pinks here, and then we're going to move on to the yellows and the greens. So I think we'll fit another row on this page and then I'll move on to the next one. So we're going to start with anthraquinoid pink. So this is a real coral type of pink, and you might be quite surprised that I like this colour because it's not my usual kind of colour. But I did use it in a few drawings a while ago, and it looks great with the greys and the blue greys. It's really nice with those. So yeah, I'm quite fond of this colour. next one is Hibiscus Pink. So I would say this is another one that I don't tend to use that much, but it's nice to have. It's quite a muted, what would we call this? A sort of violety pink, really, a muted violety pink. And there's another one that I'm going to swatch next, which is kind of similar, and this one is called Violet Pink, but it's just a bit more pink. But yeah, these are all colours that I wouldn't use that often, but they're nice to have. I mean, you might use this type of colour a lot, in which case I can really recommend them because they are absolutely gorgeous. The Luminance pencils have such a depth of colour, which I really, really love, and it's one of the things that has made them my favourite pencils to work with. So the next one is Burnt Sienna 10%. So I didn't put this in with the actual Burnt Sienna because it looks so different. It's much more of a pink. So that's why this one is here. And also the Burnt Sienna 50%. Now this looks a bit more brown, this one, but it still has that lovely slightly pink earthiness. I guess this one could have gone between the Carmine Lake and the Burnt Sienna, but I don't know, it kind of fits in here, so it's going there. And then we have one of my favourites, Violet Grey. This is just such a beautiful muted colour, and something that I do tend to use quite a lot in my work. I love it. I do love these muted colours that they do in the Luminance range. So nice. And the final one on this row is Pink White. Now the Pink White's probably not going to show up very much. It's very, very pale, especially on this more kind of creamy ivory paper. This isn't bright white paper. But as I say, it's really good. I like to layer this one over the top of the dark indigo, and or the indigo over the top of this, and it kind of brings out the blue of that indigo. It's an interesting combination for adding a bit of extra interest and texture and so on to your work. But yeah, this is a nice subtle colour, useful to have. I can see all the little indentations where I've drawn on this page. I'm not going to do any swatching on the backs of the pages. I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm just going to move on to the next page. So we have yellows and greens here. So I think we'll start with the palest yellow, which is Primrose. So this probably won't show up very well on this page. It does a little bit. Then we move on to Brown Ochre 10%, which is a really nice, quite neutral, earthy kind of colour. And then this is Light Flesh 10%. As I say, I don't know whether they've renamed the light flesh ones. I kind of have a feeling they might have done the light flesh and the dark flesh. I don't know. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they have. They're kind of similar to some other colours I have, so I'm never sure whether I inadvertently bought the same colour but just with a different name. Because what does this remind me of? Does it remind me of any of those? Or maybe it doesn't. No, there are none on that page that look similar, so maybe not. Okay, one of my old favourites, yellow ochre. I always love yellow ochre. So I'm not into super bright yellows, as you'll probably tell from this swatching. But I do love an earthy yellow. So yellow ochre is one of my favourites. And then we have raw sienna, another favourite. It's just slightly darker. I always think of this as a darker version of yellow ochre. And then we're going to move on to green ochre. This is a lovely colour. I do love earthy colours so much. And then olive yellow, which is a lovely bright spring type of green, but without being too like unnatural. I feel like this is a nice natural version of those spring greens. And then we have olive brown, which is always a useful colour. Like being in the woods, this one. That's what it reminds me of. And then we'll finish this row with middle verdigris, which is a really lovely pale, cool green. I feel like that one, you could eat it. So we're on to the final row, and I can't remember, did I say at the beginning I think we had 68 colours? I've just counted them again and I've counted 69, so I don't know. We either have 68 or 69. Okay, let's start with cobalt green. So this is quite a bright green for me, and not one that I would use very often, but it's nice to have some brighter colours just in case I need them. And I kind of feel like even though it's brighter, it still has quite a natural look to it. And then we have chromium oxide green. Now we're really getting into the greens that I love using in my work. Oh no, I know what I've done. I've done these too close together, haven't I? I was leaving more of a gap between the rows. I'm going to have to be really careful how I label those. Oh dear. So that's why I should label as I go along. Well, there's nothing I can do about that now, so I will just have to go with it. Right, this one, what's this one here? English green. Okay, we're going to do moss green next. Really love this one. I've got some lovely greens in other brands as well, which I look forward to sharing with you. Some I think you'll really like. I kind of feel like that one needs to go. Someone need to go there maybe. I feel like perhaps it does, or maybe even there. I'm going to pop it in there. And we're going to go with the next one we're going to go with is, I think, dark sap green. Let's do that one. Another favourite. Fantastic blue green, really dark. And then this one is dark phthalo cyanine green. So it's another really dark green. but less blue this time. And now we go on to the slightly brighter green. So this is light malachite green. So this is a super bright, sort of like, it looks like cobalt teal is what it reminds me of. The cobalt teal paint colour. The Daniel Smith one is what that's reminding me of. And then we have beryl green. I hope I'm pronouncing these properly. If I'm not, you'll have to forgive me. And then dark English green. Oh, I'm caught in my sleeve. That's quite a bright but dark, if that makes sense. I don't know whether that does make sense, but it makes sense to me. And finally, we have malachite green, which is a very blue toned green. Very pretty colours, these ones. Right, there we go. I'm going to label those and I'll hold them up, and yeah, you can have a final look at all of the colours. So yeah, I'll be back at the end. So there we are, 69 colours. I counted them again, all logged in my materials book. I've added the date there so that if I add any extra colours, I can just put them here and I'll know that they are the newer ones. But I can't imagine I'll be adding many more from the Luminance range, unless of course they bring out some new colours that I want to try. But I think I have pretty much everything that I want and need from that range. I feel with the Luminance that perhaps, now I don't know whether anyone else feels this, perhaps they could do with more greens. There aren't that many greens, I don't think, in a range, or such a big range of pencils. But maybe that's just because I love greens and would like more. But yeah, there you go. They're the Luminance. I think next time I will probably be doing my maybe Derwent pencils. Maybe I'll do, because I have Derwent Lightfast and Derwent drawing pencils. I think maybe I'll do both of those in the same video. And yeah, I look forward to sharing those with you. Thank you if you have stayed to the end. If you've stayed to the end, what could we say today? I don't know what you could write in the comments. I know, say the name of one of my favourite and most used pencils, which is the Payne's Grey. Leave a comment saying Payne's Grey in the comment section below and I'll know you made it all the way through the video. If you did, thank you so much. And please also give the video a thumbs up if you like this kind of video, if you find them useful. It lets YouTube know that you like the video. It will show it to more people. It will help grow my channel. It's all good. So thank you very much if you choose to do that. And I will see you again soon for another video. Take care of yourselves and bye for now.